Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Madmouth. Tonight, we'll have a little bit of prayers here to my fellow colleague, Mark the Barber Meredith. Mark, before I introduce you to, we'll bring on George. We are going to dedicate 108 Stitches Baseball Talk to your mom. So why don't you go out there and talk about some memories and things that stood out about your mom. And we hope that we provide you with the prayers and the condolences that you need to get through this difficult period of time.
I appreciate that. Mom lived to be 97 years young. And although she had dementia, she fought it till the bitter end. I couldn't get up there to see her. I was away. I had a student trip. I was running out of the country. But when I came back, I was in touch with my brother and my sister who were with her, and they kept saying that, she didn't have much more time. And I said, she's going to go on Easter Sunday. It's only apropos for my mother, to be honest with you. My father, ironically, this is a little bit strange, but my father died Holy Week as well. So we're Catholic, and it was rather odd that it worked that way for my parents. But growing up, I was a baseball guy, played catcher all my life. My parents never missed a game. I don't think they ever missed a game that I played in, ever. My dad got involved with baseball just because I played. Mom was always a big booster. She was always positive. She looked out for me. It's funny because I was looking at the obituary that they wrote for her today, and she actually worked at a place called Shenley Distillery when she was younger. And then it had domestic engineer was her next title. Do you guys know what a domestic engineer is?
Yeah, housewife.
Stay at home.
Yeah, stay at home mom. But yeah. I love the way they worded it. She was the straw that stirred the drink. She was the matriarch after my grandmother died, which was when I was like 16 years old in the family. She was a good woman. I will miss her every day. I talked to her tons. There was no time where I didn't have time for my mother. And she always stuck by me, good and bad, happy, sad. I wish I could share one specific memory with you, but there are just so many of them that are entrenched in my brain that I'm really appreciative, So I thank you for dedicating the show to her tonight. I thank you for, this is probably good for me mentally to be on here tonight. I couldn't focus today. I just didn't have focus, and I'm just trying to keep it on a straight and narrow. So thanks, guys, and looking forward to talking some baseball tonight.
Well, I have to say, Mark, 96, 97 years is a pretty good run.
It is.
Not very far from George Burns, and she's not very far from John Wooden. So, when you get to 96 some odd years,
yeah,
you're wrong. The condolences are there, but she did pretty good. She had a few extra memories that most people would if they didn't quite last that long.
About 95 of the years were pretty good to her. The last couple years, she slid pretty hard. Dementia is a horrible thing. There's no way to cure it. There's nothing you can do for a person. Once a person passes, they always say it's the second goodbye because with dementia, once they lose their mind, I was thankful maybe like 3 weeks ago, my son and I went out and spent time with her. And, I do have a funny story for you guys. My mom wasn't able to move around too much at the end. She was bedridden for the most part.
Right.
And, my son and I were up there visiting with her. And, at one point in the evening, she was laying in bed, like I think she was asleep. And I went into my room, which was next door, and my son was downstairs. My sister was down talking with her husband. And I got up to go check on her, and she's sitting in a chair, like about, 5 feet away from her bed, 6 feet away from her bed. And I'm like, Mom, how did you get there? Because she couldn't walk, guys. She couldn't walk.
Right.
Okay. So I yelled down at my sister. I said, Arlene, did you move Mom onto a chair? She's like, no. And I yelled down at my son, asked him the same question. His answer was no. Well, apparently she had gotten this burst of energy, enough so that she got herself out of bed and walked over and sat in this chair.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
it was just amazing. What a wonderful memory that is for me, because then my sister came up and we're like, we sat there, talked with her for a while, and we're like, "You ready to go back to bed?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm tired." So I started to help her up, and my sister's like, "No, Mom, you walk to this chair, you walk back to bed." So she walked back to bed and sat down on the bed. And it was like, guys, I'm telling you, she was nowhere near able to walk for weeks. And to watch her do this, I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the chat room real quick. Duncan Lozinski. Hey, look at that. Is that from Canada, where you're at? Good evening. Good evening, Duncan. And Candy, of course, once again, wishes your condolences. And Duncan as well. Rest in peace, Mr. Paradise.
Thank you.
Go. What's going on? We're about ready to let you know what's going on. Blake Lozinski, glad to have him on. These Lozinski guys are unbelievable. I enjoy talking to these guys every day. I'm sure Joshua Bernstein will make his way on there as well. And the other member of our crew is George Eichhorn. George?
Good to be back on, Scott. And again, my sympathy as well, Mark, for you and your family. And you're obviously in our thoughts and prayers. We'll lift you up all week long. Of course, Scott and I are, and Candy, sending our best to you and your fam.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my Aunt Tina died of dementia too, and it was really tough. And yeah, she inspired me to get into the broadcasting side. She said, "Be pretty good." Well, I'm wearing the headset. I guess I had to do something right anyways. All right, with that said, Candy, why don't you give a little early promotion before we get to the games series, okay? And here's Candy.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. If you see the red little button by George, that means you haven't subscribed to our channel. And honestly, why haven't you yet? I just don't understand. Just hit that red subscribe button. Be one of our, I don't know how many listeners, but why wouldn't you? You be able to talk to the lights of Scott, the Motor City Madmouth, Mark, the Barber Meridi, and of course, Mr. George Eichhorn. You can talk baseball on Monday nights. You can talk football on Tuesday nights. You can talk all sports Wednesday night and on Sports Exchange. And Thursdays, we have Fire Up, which normally you can talk sports too, because we love talking sports. Come to our channel. Come to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. That little book up in the corner, Mr. Motor City Madmouth wrote it, Scott Morganroth. It's available Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. It'll be available very soon on Apple, and we're working on Google. Wait for more details. If you listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, you can find us. We'll have the rest of a good show. Scott, back to you guys.
All right, Candy, thank you very much. Well, Joshua Bernstein has an interesting question. Although he's telling us the Panthers are losing 4-1. Okay. So here's a question to you, Mark. Okay, ready? How many haircuts do you do a day? Did you do today?
I do about 3, sometimes 4 haircuts a week.
Hey, really?
I get the straight razor out and get it all cleaned up.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's a teacher, loves baseball, and he does haircuts. My goodness. Well, I hate to segue this way, but I don't really have any choice. I know, once again, I know your mom's funeral has it. You'll be dealing with that shortly, but there's another funeral that's been in the making for a while. And the beginning of that process began this weekend out in Oakland, where the Oakland A's at the gate. Oh, my goodness. How about this opening day crowd? 13,522. If that wasn't good enough, it even got worse. Okay, on March 29th, 3,837. March 30th, so got a little bit of a spike there to 5,425. And on March 31st, in a 4-3 win, 4,118. Now, Oakland A's were 1-3 for their first homestand. So, when you look at the numbers, 26,902 in Oakland. All right, well, we know these numbers aren't very good. I mean, let's face reality. They lost their opening game to the Guardians 8-0. All right, so that wasn't going to certainly bring a whole lot of people back. The second game was a 6-4 loss. The third was a 12-3 loss until they went out there and won the final game 4-3. So really, the main thing is this, George. Where are the A's going to play in 2025? Their stadium will not be ready, I believe, until 2028. Give me one place where you think they could be playing next year. And if you want to really get on here, George, mute is not the answer. So when you unmute yourself, since this is not a silent movie, George Eichhorn, then we will go out there. I had to find a way to get Mark Merritt a laugh here, so I knew that was going to do it. So let's take an audio and visual replay, George. Where should the Oakland A's play in 2025?
Well, it's a complex question only because you're not going to be able to find a facility as big as the Oakland Coliseum. Now, I know you're probably all laughing out there hearing that after Scott told you what dismal crowds they had. But the fact of the matter is, there are times in history that Major League Baseball has had situations where they've had to move a team into a minor league stadium for a short period of time. Could be renovations going on, but mostly it has to do with weather or some sort of natural disaster. I think if they can't play in Las Vegas at the minor league park there, my next choice, guys, would be Salt Lake City. Okay. And, you want to keep them in that. Well, actually, Salt Lake, I take that back. That's Mountain Time Zone. But if they play in Vegas, of course, it'd be the same thing, Western Pacific Time Zone. But obviously, the fans in Oakland have had enough. They're wringing their hands and saying, this is it. It's a disastrous situation for MLB, and as well as for the lingering fans that the A's have. It's just a terrible situation. But Scott, those would be my two choices. A would be the Las Vegas, home of the minor league club. I'm sorry, I forgot their nickname.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, and the other would be Salt Lake City, which has expressed an interest in the A's. I don't know how big an interest, but if they had the facility.
Okay, let's go to Blake Lozinski's question. This is going to be a double one here for you. All right, Mark, you ready? We'll go to Blake's question first. Do you think Austin should go out there and get an MLB team?
Oh, I don't know if Austin's the kind of city that could support an MLB team. I only say that because I've been there, and it's more of an artsy type city.
Yeah.
A lot of transplants from the West Coast have moved in there. I don't know if they get that sports crowd there. Now I know they support their Longhorns. I get that, but college sports and professional sports are just two separate entities to a certain degree today because there's money in both of them now. But I don't think that it would be a good move for them to get a professional baseball team. I think it would be a total failure inevitably, especially if they can't put up numbers. I mean, you've got Texas there, who it took them forever to win a championship. They have a nice following. You have a minor league baseball team in Dallas as well. You've got the Astros who bang the can and do their best. I don't see it. I don't see it being productive.
All right. So tell me where the A's should play temporarily.
I think the A's should go to San Diego.
Oh,
how about
San
that?
Diego? Really?
They have a stadium sitting there. They have an empty stadium.
San Diego?
San Diego, yeah. Then go down there and play some baseball. And right? Don't they have another empty stadium there where the Chargers were playing?
No, that stadium.
Were they splitting that stadium with the Padres?
Well, yeah, the Padres got a new ballpark, and then that stadium got torn down. Now San Diego State Aztecs play football there.
Okay, all right.
That's okay. You want to come up with another one?
Well, I mean, you're talking minor league baseball. You probably want to keep it on the West Coast so they can play their regular schedule, right?
Yeah.
It's tough.
What about guys? What about Portland or Portland?
Don't worry about it, George. Don't worry about it. So you have any other ideas, Mark, or you need more time on this one?
I mean, I'm thinking about who else is out there that would have a sizable stadium. I mean, it's got to be at least 15,000 seats.
Right.
Like to make it somewhat productive, more so than it is currently,
Right.
it's got to have about 15,000 seats in it.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, Colorado, somewhere in Colorado, maybe
Okay.
Colorado Springs.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I think. All right. Sacramento's a no-brainer. I moved there, only 45 minutes away. I think their stadium's like 12 to 15,000. So it's not far from Oakland. Sacramento would be the most logical choice around the West Coast, the capital of California. Anyways, considering even if they have a 12,000 seat stadium, you think 3 of these attendance figures that easily qualify? Yeah, Sacramento would be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And again, they understand it would be a short-term situation anyway. So I have Sacramento. And George, you put your alternatives out there. I don't know about the Vegas AAA, but we'll see how it plays out. I definitely don't see him in Oakland if this continues. I mean, you want to pay them to stay at that park when they're ready to tell you to get lost?
Yeah.
Leave
George,
where you're not wanted.
Did you also say New Orleans?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, New Orleans might not be a bad spot for a ball team.
Yeah, I mean, you could put them there.
Well, again, you're going to have a lot of scheduling changes if you move them. Like, Scott's right on. He's right on with Sacramento. I mean, but that's happened before, but that's a long ways away from Western time zone.
Yeah, see, I'm wondering whether whether the Mariners would allow the A's to go there temporarily, because it does take away from the territorial situation as well.
Yeah.
I kind of want to put them someplace though that they could draw some fans.
Well, down the road is Oakland. Come on, man.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. You go right down the road to Sacramento. No one's going to come see you there either.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, don't sell Sacramento short, Mark. Okay, in terms of them being a sports town, they've had the Sacramento Kings for a lot of years, and they've supported them. So I'm just saying, I've been to Sacramento, seen I believe a couple of Kings games, and I wouldn't sell the people short in Sacramento. That's just my opinion, but that's why I threw it out there. Well, hey, I hate to say this, and don't take this the wrong way. You'll have more people at your mom's funeral than you do Oakland A's games.
Yeah.
So please don't take it as, I'm trying to make light of the situation.
I saw a picture of the stadium. I guess it was yesterday or something, but halfway through the game, it looked like there was a couple hundred people there. Wow. Like the numbers they're giving you probably isn't the amount of people going through the gate.
Right.
Listen, let me tell you, Mark, when you're talking between 3,000 and 5,000 in a 50, 60,000 seat stadium, they almost feel like a couple hundred when you're looking at something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm with you. Those look bad. But remember, the one situation that we can't forget before we move on to the next one is the Toronto Blue Jays played in Buffalo during COVID, is what they did. And they also played in Dunedin for the warm part of the schedule as well.
Yes, they did.
So there we have it. All right, let's talk about the Miami Marlins. I went to the game yesterday, and they lost 9-7. And I got to tell you, they had the roof open 3 of the 4 days. And you know what? It was pretty neat seeing a game with the roof open during the game. I've only seen it once at night. But let's recap the Marlins attendance for the weekend. March 28th, opening day, they put 32,564. Obviously, momentum coming off the Marlins playoff appearance last year, but they lost 6-5 in 12 innings. And then you also have the 29th, where the Fish lost 7-2, 13,636. March 30th, a 9-3 loss, 14,203. And then, of course, yesterday, 15,918, 76,318. And you had that compared to what you just saw in Oakland, 26,902. To me, that's, it is what it is. Now, the Pirates swept a 4-game series for the first time since 1903. And they have a new GM in Peter Bendix over at kimng. And also, here, get this, Avisailgarcia entered the game with a 125 batting average, and obviously he's been getting booed at home on opening day. He did hit a home run, but when I saw that was interesting in that game was Trevorrogers went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, and unfortunately he got a no decision. So, you know, so Garcia, he does deserve to be booed if you're going to go out there and get paid a lot of money and not produce, whether it's injury related or not. It doesn't matter. That was a bad signing. So, with that said, Mark, some thoughts about the Marlins and the Pirates.
Well, when I was listening to the game yesterday, they were comparing Garcia to a young Miggy, and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
There's no, like that. I don't think so, because I just think Miguel Tejada had so many. He was so productive, whether he was hitting on the field or playing the field or in the locker room. And I don't know if this guy has all those intangibles. When you're investing money in guys like that, to me, it's got to be about all the intangibles. And I don't know if you can really make that a fair comparison to me. I was absolutely shocked that the Pirates put their Sunday lineup out there and battled back from being down 5-0 to winning that game, to be quite honest with you. Last year, the Pirates started the season 20-8. Everybody remembers that. And then they had an epic collapse once again. They win in April, May, and then after that, they fall apart. Part of that last year was because they had lost, they lost O'Neal Cruz. But you can see what this team can do with a guy like O'Neal Cruz in the lineup and some of these other guys that they pick up and put on the field for them. One of the things another guy said from that team was, we have such a great mixture of guys who've been in the playoffs, won World Series, and Michael A. Taylor, just very competitive guys. I don't know if this team's going to make the playoffs. I don't know what they're going to do at the end of the day, but what they did to the Marlins. And I know, look, Scott, you said, well, the Marlins are just, they're not what they were last year, but they were a playoff team. And to go in there and play them like they did was a feather in their cap. Look, the Pirates turned around and won today against the Nationals. They were winning 3-1, gave up a bomb to Riley Adams. It was 3-3, and then the Pirates exploded and won that game 8-3. They're just different right now. You can feel it. You can sense it. So, yeah, that's my piece on them.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's go to the chat room really quickly. Duncan Lozinski, quiz time. How many stitches does a softball have? I wouldn't even know. You guys want to take a guess at this one? Of course, if I don't, Candy Ebling's bound to look it up anyways, because that's what she does think.
I'd rather get her answer, but I don't have a clue.
I'm clueless. He's got us all stumped on this one. When you come up with it, Candy, let me know, because I know you're going to do it anyways. Blake Lozinski says, I went to a Marlins game last year and fell asleep during it. Well, I guess you picked the wrong game to go to. Okay, C, Panthers can't win the cup until they have Blake in goal. That's funny.
88-96 on a softball.
Oh, is that? Well, I knew somebody.
Right?
88-96.
So there you have it, my friend. Now you have I knew somebody was going to research it. All right, let's see. We got a new person in here. C, Panthers can't win the cup until they have Blake in goal. All right, well, we have some Panther fans. No problem with that. They need something with that team. All right, let's keep it going. All right. I love the energy of the chat room. That's what we need, right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Keep it going. And it was obvious the Panthers don't eat enough pineapple steak. Their diets are weak. Never had it myself, so I have to think about that one. See, do you want any ice? I like iced coffee, actually. And Blake, I had my pizza for the night, Little Caesars, by the way. So and Joshua Bernstein just being funny here. Okay, how many stitches in a baseball? Well, we'll give you a clue. All you have to do is go ahead and look at the top. He likes to mess around, this person. He's a trip. Now, if I can only get him on the air, it'd be another story. All right, with that said, George, what's your take of what we saw yesterday?
Well, I was surprised. That is just pure nonsense for Miami to lose that many games in a row. What was it? A 4-game series?
4-game series.
4-game series. They have Pittsburgh come in now. Most experts were around the 72 win mark for the Pirates for this year. The predictions that I was looking at, and a lot of people around 70, 80 wins for the Marlins. But it's just not. you just can't do that. You just can't open up at home and lay an egg like that. They had a great team last year. Skip Schumaker did a great job. I know Scott, covers a lot of their games, and Candy, and he was 84 and 78 last year. But this one really baffles me, to be able to blow that kind of series like that. Now, you're talking about this Garcia, and it's ironic, but yeah, there was talk about him being like a mini Miggy Cabrera when he was
Right.
with the Tigers. And that was talked about a little bit, but then, as you guys know, the Tigers dealt him away. So the prime of his career, he was doing pretty good, but no, his stats are bad this year, and he even last year he didn't have as much power that he used to show. So not so sure about the Avisail Garcia, how much he's going to contribute this year. And then interesting, you mentioned about Trevorrogers too, Scott.
Yeah.
He's a good pitcher. I mean, it's going to be tough. Obviously, we know that. I mean, these division races are going to be tough. It's just a little bit surprising. I mean, these things happen. You said earlier, Mark, that Pittsburgh, I forgot about that, got off to that good start last year, and then the whole roof caved in. So you never
Right.
know what's going to happen in baseball. But for them to be able to go in, well, actually, they stayed in Pittsburgh, in Florida, because they trained there. Obviously, the Pirates. I was going to say they flew
Yeah,
into Miami,
right.
but that being said, that might have kept things a little bit more even, I guess, because they were in the same state that they've been practicing and training in.
Right.
Unlike the Detroit Tigers, who had to fly to Chicago. We'll talk about that later. But I think it's just maybe a mirage, guys. I mean, I think Miami is much better than they indicated. I don't think Pittsburgh's as great as those wins. Like you said, Mark, what, 5-0 now, I believe the Pirates are?
Yes, they are.
Derek Shelton, what was he in his career? 218 wins and 328 losses.
Yeah, 106 losses below 500.
Yeah. So Pirates have struggled for years and years. That's my 2 cents, Scott. I was surprised though by being swept the Marlins like that.
Yeah, by the way, I like the comments C just put up. Nice to see a very active chat here. Love the damn show. You know what? We are glad that you are a part of it. See, and just remember, Monday nights around 8:15, you can have all of us going to be working on bringing on some guests as well. So very good stuff. This chat room is just unbelievable, and I have no problem, folks, extending shows if I feel the chat room is, as Jimmy Walker would say, I don't have the voice to do it, dynamite. So that's really good stuff. So. I don't. My voice is getting a little hoarse. So, anyways, let's keep going. Let's find some other good comments in the chat room. All right. Hi, George. Love the point about eggs, although I'm more of a pineapple steak guy. All right. All right. Well, I'm still trying to figure out the riddle of pineapple steak guy. And Joshua Bernstein, yeah, Jesse Stuber's a big Cub guy. We're trying to get him lined up with JB Ellis. We'll see if we can get that done on Confidential. So with that said, our final topic of the night, because I want my guys to be able to come up with something on their own, happens to be the New York Yankees and the Houston Astros. Boy, how many times have you seen a big rivalry between these two? Well, the Bronx Bombers were bombing in Houston this weekend, but the Astros were winners at the gate. The Yankees swept that series 4-0. Let me give you a recap. On the opening day, the Yankees 5-4 win produced 42,462. Game 2, the Yankees 7-1 win, 41,583. Game 3, Yankees March 30th, 2024, a 5-3 win, 41,247. March 31st, yesterday, Yankees 4-3 win, 36,908. Total 162,380. So when you wonder why I chose these three games, we're talking about 26,902 in Oakland, right? And we do a little bit better in Miami at 76,318. And of course, the Yankees 162,380. Bear in mind, when the Yankees played the Miami Marlins last year, I did manage to get to a game. It was unbelievable because when you think about it, the Marlins put over 100,000 fans when the Yankees are. We all know the Yankees are a draw, but this rivalry has taken on an interesting dimension because we all know about the scandal that recently took place. But George, give me your thoughts about the Yankees sweeping Houston Astros. I'll tell you, are there any whispers that they wish that Dusty Baker would have stayed?
Yes, Dad, really. I was surprised about this one too. I mean, the Yankees, of course, get all the hype as well. They should. I mean, the big city, the metropolis, and of course, the Astros. We all know about how great they've been for many years now down in Houston and winning the World Series. And I just again, I shake my head at these early streaks because I know it's not a true indicator, but boy, oh boy, when you get those wins that gives you some momentum. And the Yankees certainly got the momentum over Houston. But that's an embarrassment, like I just talked to you about, on the other side for, Pittsburgh. I'm sorry that how they embarrassed Miami. Now you got a situation where the Yankees embarrassed Houston. I don't know. It just sometimes it's a little bit of luck. Sometimes it's things are going your way and they gel early. You got guys that are hot, maybe coming out of the training camp, either in Florida or Arizona, wherever you train, but I did not see this coming. The Yankees, watch out for them because there's some good ball players on that team, as we know, and they got a lot of future ahead of them, a good future ahead of them. So I again, they're going to be there at the end. Both teams are going to be in the chase, definitely. Uh, we don't know who's going to win it all, but Houston is going to be battling Texas and probably Seattle to some extent. But the Yankees, of course, got the very tough division there, of course, with Tampa Bay and Baltimore and Boston. So it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad the Yankees got a little bit out of Houston, though. I'm not a big
I,
fan of the Astros.
okay, back to the chat room because now Blake Lozinski is auditioning for the
Yeah.
part of Joker on Batman. Okay, Blake, so he's auditioning for the part on Joker, but he's lucky because it's on April Fools. I like this. This is just funny. But if you talk to this guy every day, you know he's a character. That's why I didn't take this for what it is. I won't be able to watch everybody say "oh,
Oh,
oh." Okay, there you go, Blake. Now, April Fools, calm down. Okay. Okay, see, this is the opportunity here while we do the video that we can do the glad to hear it. All right, Candy Ebling's comment: Brewers versus the Mets sweep over 94,000 attendance for 3 games. Yeah, it was pretty good. Another sweep. There you go for the Brew Crew. I think they'll be better than most people think. So now C is giving it to Blake. Keep it. All right, look at these guys. They're unbelievable. They make it fun for us, don't they?
Yeah.
So everybody chime in on the Marlins. We're ready to roll for the final topic. Well, of course we did. We just finished the final topic. So that's called. So all right. So George, you are surprised at the Yankees, then, right? Going sweeping on four.
I am surprised they swept. I'm waiting to hear now, Mark. What did you think about that?
well,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that because I did want to chime in. The Astros have lost 8 straight at home, dating back to the playoffs last year.
Wow.
The amazing piece of it, and I know, George, you said this, those teams are in the top 5 in payroll. So, it's all who's getting the good play out of the guys they're developing because they know what they're going to get out of the guys that they've paid already. They're either going to flourish or they're just going to collect a paycheck. I think the Yankees made some good moves by getting rid of guys like Josh Donaldson. I went and saw the Yankees play last June up in New York. Man, I've had enough of Giancarlo Stanton. I've had enough of guys like Josh Donaldson. They're getting fat paychecks to do what? To do nothing.
Right.
But they went out and got Soto, and Soto came in there and he's making his mark already. He's a great young ball player. If you're going to invest your money, invest it in somebody like him, and hopefully he doesn't get satisfied and just want the money like some of those other guys did. But I do see those two teams. Now, remember, the Yankees are doing this without Garrett Cole currently, too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
And LeMahieu is out, too.
Oh, that's right. LeMahieu is out as well. It'll be interesting to see how they round into shape when they get a couple of their stars back and how they fit into the thing going forward. I'm not a big Houston guy either. Somebody said it. I forget which one of you guys said it, but I'm not a big Houston guy. They lost me years ago when they started banging the can. I mean, like, I have a hard time with that. Once you cheat, you're a cheater to me. And they just throw their money around to win. Guys, we talked about this. and I'm tired of talking about it. And I'm not. This isn't affected you. This isn't directed at you guys, but until Major League Baseball gets a grasp of money, the same teams, we're going to see the same thing every year. The same teams, we're going to see the same thing. Our poor Detroit Tigers, our poor Pittsburgh Pirates, and our, your Marlins make a run here and there down there. But, those teams are never going to be able to meet the firepower out of these teams that are paying over $300 million for their players.
All right. I'm going to throw just two things out there. Number one, I do believe that Aaron Boone is under the biggest microscope he's ever been under this year.
Yeah.
Now, here's the carrot of this conversation. Ready? But did you know that the Yes Network happened to hire Joe Girardi as an analyst?
No.
So,
Wow.
So for some reason or another, I'm not going Dusty May on you, George. I got that one right. But I'm kind of wondering a little bit, maybe is Aaron Boone's replacement, Joe Girardi, looking over his shoulder since the last time they won a World Series was with Joe Girardi? I don't know. Or
His
do
seat's
I?
got to be hot, right?
Yeah, it sure is. What's hot? So I'm going to ask you a question, Mark. What seat is hotter? The one that the Yankees have, or when you have 120-degree temperatures in Arizona, even though it's dry heat?
I probably go with the Yankees. You got way too many people who have a Yankee hat on walking around in America and other places. I was in Greece last week. I saw people with Yankees hats and Yankees coats. You got way too many people who throw into that firepower of the Yankees.
Yeah, maybe Hal Steinbrenner's probably looking back on the fact they hadn't been to a World Series in a while, and maybe Joe Girardi wasn't as bad as everybody thought he was. I don't know.
And Brian Cashman, he survives all these ups and downs.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's another one, the club president or GM, Brian Cashman. But Scott, I believe it will go back in history, my friend, and you covered the Detroit Pistons. And wasn't there a guy named Ron Rothstein that was on TV with the announcer that actually did get the Pistons coaching job?
As a matter of fact, I do remember that well.
You're right on, Scott, because this is similar to that which you mentioned about Girardi.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, we don't know. We don't know, of course.
I hope JB Ellis is watching it or will eventually watch it, because you saw what happened on Wednesday's edition of the Sports Exchange, that Mr. Ellis, who wears his hat differently than most people with the beak backwards with his name on the front, even nodded his head about that Dusty May thing and said, I'm not a prognosticator. I don't really care about necessarily making predictions, but Dusty May felt right in Michigan, and for some reason or another, to me, it feels right that Joe Girardi could be the next manager of the New York Yankees, or I'll throw the name out there anyways, maybe Don Mattingly finally gets there. I don't know.
You guys ever find it interesting that baseball has not gone the same direction as football by having really young guys managing the teams?
Yeah, well, not yes and no. I mean, because number one, baseball's a tougher fraternity to get into when you look at the different complexity of the levels of the minor leagues too, compared to football. What do you have? The United Football League just started, and the Canadian Football League have a lot more veteran guys. So yeah, I think what you're saying, Mark, there is a lot of validity what you're saying. Usually baseball takes a while to finally get to things. It took them a while with replay. NFL jumped on it. So I think that's an intriguing point, Mark. It really, really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys out there that are freshly retired that were maybe not like they did it with David Ross, right? In the Cubs.
Skip Schumaker's young too. He's like early 40s.
Yeah, you're right.
But there aren't enough of them out there for you or anybody else to be able to tell us that we can say that youth has served in MLB. It just takes a little while longer.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I agree.
All right,
I think that you see some young blood, but not enough. I get what you're saying, Mark.
Right. All right. So with that said, here's what we're going to do tonight. I don't have a parting shot. George, lead off with yours.
Well, of course, I got to talk about the 3-0 Detroit Tigers. They swept the Chicago White Sox over the weekend, and basically they're getting it from all different angles. I mean, they got good pitching. They got, bullpen was incredible against the White Sox. The Tigers bullpen allowed like one run all weekend long in the 3-game sweep. So that was really something good that came out of that. Torkelson, Green, I mean, some of the stars, they had their moments. They didn't all, go gangbusters in this series, but they got enough help from Ibanez and other guys on the roster came through. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff going around. The backup catcher, Kelly, had a fantastic game yesterday. Jake Rogers hit a home run on Saturday. The two catchers are doing well. All I'm saying is that, and I'll just go back to what we talked about earlier, what can you really glean out of these opening series? Well, if you're on the winning side, you love it. And so do your fans love it. But if you're on the other side, you don't like it. And the Chicago White Sox are a perfect example. And you're talking about attendance, Scott. And the White Sox had a good crowd for the opener. They had over 33,000. The next 2 days, it was a lot less. But that being said, what's even worse is the fact that they couldn't beat Detroit one time. And that, it sticks in their mouth, I'm sure, because the Chicago fans next to New York and Philadelphia are some of the toughest fans to please. But all this being said, as far as the Detroit Tigers go, when I saw that schedule come out, you got 3 in the cold air in Chicago, and then you follow that up with 3 in New York against the Mets. I'd be happy with two wins and maybe 4 losses. But now they're 3-0 right now, and they have a chance to obviously come home and play in the opener on Friday with a winning record, which they probably will have, unless they lose all 3 to the Mets, which I don't see that happening. All I'm saying is that people are excited. The Tigers started out as best they could, undefeated.
All right, well, let's go back to the chat room. All right. And then we go out there. All right, Candy, let's get back there. Joshua Bernstein. I don't know who Benny Balaguli is, will manage the Yankees. I don't know. Maybe some fictitious name over in Disney World for all I know. All right, we're smoking Jeremy. Well, to be honest with you, he doesn't do baseball. Blake, see him tomorrow night, though. And, of course, Jesse's at Hibachi. Chat room is busy tonight. You got that right. Happy to see Steve in here. And there we go. All right, good stuff. All right, so go ahead, Mark. And I'm going to come up with a score update with some of the pertinent teams that we're talking about. So go ahead, Mark.
I thought the Philadelphia Phillies really underachieved over the weekend for the amount of effort they put into their roster and the amount of money they shelled out. They struggled. And, I realize baseball's a marathon and not a sprint, but
right.
When you field a team that is being paid hundreds of millions of dollars, you're looking for some consistency. And, you hit it, George. Those Philadelphia fans are not going to stand for that. So that team has got to wake up pretty quickly. The only positive in that is the Mets suck. These teams are going to have to contend with Atlanta at the end of the day. And I was just shocked to watch what Philly did over the weekend. Their bullpen imploded. You go ahead and pay all the high-powered hitters, but if you don't have anybody to stop the other team's hitters, what good is it?
All right, let's go to the scoreboard with the teams that we were talking about tonight. Top of the 8th inning, LA Angels and the Miami Marlins are tied at 4-4. The Angels have a man on first with nobody out. The Tigers and the Mets are scoreless right now in the bottom of the 7th. The Mets have a runner on with 1 out, runner at first base with 1 out. Bottom of the 7th inning. Let's continue on. Let's see. We have the Houston Astros lead the Toronto Blue Jays 4-0 in the top of the 4th. So maybe they could get off the schneid there and win a home game. Let's continue on here. We have the Yankees are playing the Diamondbacks. I was living in Arizona when the Diamondbacks won it back in 2001. And I have to tell you, being a Diamondbacks guy at that time, I was pulling for them, but that's always interesting to see those two teams play. It really, really is. Let's continue on. Well, you talked about how good the Braves are. Chicago White Sox found that out. It only took 8 innings for the Braves to wipe them out 9-0. And, of course, the game that you mentioned earlier, the Pittsburgh Pirates top the Washington Nationals 8-4. There's your final of the games that we were speaking about tonight. So any closing thoughts, George?
My closing thought would just be that enjoy it. This is the opening of baseball. Some teams open up in the cold weather, some in the nice weather, some under domes. I'm glad the game you were at, Scott, they opened the dome. It was so beautiful to have fresh air there for Miami's game on Sunday, I'm sure. But enjoy it, folks. It's a fun season, a long season, as you guys know. A long season baseball is. So enjoy the opening week. It's still going on around the big lakes.
What about you, Mark?
My final thought has nothing to do with baseball. I hope you guys don't mind, but there are 4 really, really good women's teams playing basketball tonight.
Okay.
And man, if you want to see some good basketball from females, you need to check this out because LSU is playing Iowa, Caitlin Clark and what's her name from Baltimore. That's a great game. And the girl from UConn and Juju Watkins from USC. That's some good basketball that's going to happen right there. Those 4 girls are probably better than half the guys in the NBA, in my opinion.
Now, Duncan Losinski says, well, South Carolina, go Cock. Yeah, Dawn Staley's done an unbelievable job over there.
Yeah, she's
for
great.
sure. So, all right, well, my closing thoughts really go back to the Marlins. It was really weird seeing them play outside. But you know what? This is the time where outfielders have to use their sunglasses. And then the wind played a part where these outfielders had to dance around to be able to go out there and look for them. So the Jazz Chisholm was making a big deal out of it. Said, Jazz, if you weren't playing in Miami, you'd have to deal with this problem all the time anyways. But it was weird to see baseball being played outdoors when I'm so used to seeing it under climate-controlled circumstances. So, as I mentioned earlier in the show, that 3 of the 4 games were outdoors, and I got to see my first, and I have to tell you, it was pretty interesting to watch. All right, well, with that said, Katie Ebley, why don't you take us home?
It's been an unbelievable program so far tonight. There is a red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner by George. If you see it, you have not hit it and subscribed to us. Please do so. Visit our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can catch us wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google, or Apple. Most importantly, there is a book out there that Motor City Madmouth wrote, Mr. Scott, Lessons from the Microphone. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, or Barnes & Noble, soon Apple and Google. If you would like to advertise or sponsor one of our shows, please call Scott, Motor City Madmouth, at 954-304-4941. The other thing I would ask, check out our other different shows this week, but also go and watch Mark on the Barber Maridai. He has his own show. Without people like him, we wouldn't be here. So please go out. All of our guests that appear that have shows, go out and sponsor, help them, hit subscribe, listen to their shows, and be in the chat room. Thank you for all the people that have been in the chat room tonight. It's been really active. That's great. Love to see it. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Thank you, Candy. Well done as always. So that does conclude this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, but we're not done. We have some business to take care of, and let Mark the Barber Maridai, let them know how they get a hold of you.
Well, you can find me anywhere you listen to podcasts. As Candy said, we're the original sports podcast with Mark Maridai. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Snapchat. You can find me on TikTok, which we've been putting more of our clips up lately. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. We're everywhere you're looking for us, and we're getting ready to kick off season 5 now. Due to the unfortunate circumstances that have occurred in my life, season 5 was supposed to kick off Saturday afternoon, but I'll be reevaluating. We may probably push it to Sunday, and instead of doing a live show, we'll probably do something like a virtual show to kick it off. But please like us, listen to us, and share us.
All right. Well, Mark, I also want to thank you very much for your help on Twitter. So make sure that you're out there sharing our stuff by retweeting it. So thank you very much for your continuous efforts to promote the platform. And once again, I do want to express my deepest condolences to your mom's passing, and we have dedicated this show to your mom. So tell your mom, if she's looking at you, that was not an April Fool's joke. That's called an April Fool's fact. Okay, so I get it help.
Appreciate it.
All right, so now we're dedicated to. All right, George, go ahead. You have the final word.
All right. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. Also, you can reach me on X, Twitter, SanGSports99. I write for the South Florida Tribune and for the Motor City Tribune. At the end of my columns, there's a link. If you care to look at my book, I've got a book out there too called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, and it's at Amazon. But there's a link at the end of my columns, and I was very privileged and honored to write the foreword for Scott's book. And then I have a guy named Ernie Harwell that wrote the foreword for my book. God bless you, Ernie. I know you're up there looking down upon your buddy Scott, especially. So let's just, follow us here. 108 Stitches, Inside the Pigskin. I support the shows, all of the shows that Scott and Candy got, and especially the Fire Up series and Sports Exchange and Pundits. So it's good to be part of this wonderful growing network, and also awesome. And thank you, Mark, especially for a really gutty, but nice and loving performance and tribute to your mom at the beginning.
Thanks.
Yeah, it really was good. Josh, am I going to skip you? When do I ever skip your birthday? Come on, I'm waiting for you to come on here. But I know you have to develop enough guts to be able to do it. So with that said, revving up the airways, tune in. And I like this. Tune in to the Motor City Madmouth. It's dynamic from cars to culture. He's the Motor City Madmouth steals the show. You know what Josh is trying to do, just so you guys know? He's trying to make this into a song until we replace our original opening. So, and to be honest with you, I heard it during our FaceTime. It's pretty good, So, Candy, you might want to take a picture of this and see if we can find somebody to sing it. Professor and the People, there'll be more episodes coming up. I know that's in high demand. I'm working on doing that. So there you go. So now we have a new theme song that Joshua Dorr Bernstein, the king of all the nicknames, is trying to throw out there. I thought it was pretty good the way he sounded it. So
come on, Scott. Come on, Scott. Revving up the airwaves.
No way. I am not singing this.
For the Madmouth Show. It's dynamite.
All right, you know what? Josh is asking George to sing the show. All right, go ahead, George.
Madmouth steals the show.
All right, George.
Revving up the airwaves, tune in tonight for the Motor City Mouth Show. It's dynamite. From cars to culture, he's in the know. The Motor City Madmouth steals the show.
Pretty good. I like that. We got some pretty creative people out here. I'll be done. Hey, Josh, that is pretty good. We have to keep that in there. Why don't you text that to me? We'll see if we can put a little zap behind it. But good job for a first run, George. So you've only seen it.
Yeah, nice.
Good job, Joshua. So meanwhile, with that said, this does conclude this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Tomorrow, I'll have Inside the Pigskin. Wednesday, we have the Motor City Madmouth Show, as well as the Sports Exchange, and then we'll keep you posted thereafter. So on behalf of George Eichhorn, Mark the Barber Meredai, and my name's Scott, the Motor City Madmouth, thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We will catch you next Monday night, same time, same station. Have a great week, everybody.